what is this about? Is this about the board finally thinking that Elon Musk is a liability to his own company?
You know, it's hard for me to actually think that that's what's motivating them, because they've been so negligent for so long, ever since the Twitter merger, to be truthful and really protecting shareholder rights at Tesla. What I really think this is Elon accepting a reality that his future and his real focus and passion is in building XAI and not continuing to build Tesla, and finding a way for him out of this in a sort of glorified manner. So, you know, I don't think this is wholly on the board.
Just to put it out there, you called for Musk to be replaced about a month ago, and that wasn't the first time you've expressed that view. Are you confident it's going to happen, since you think that Elon Musk is also behind it?
Well, what I'm confident is whatever's going to happen is what Elon wants to happen. So, you know, I think, as I said, that ultimately Elon's focus is continuing the race for AI. And if he doesn't focus on XAI now, he's going to fall too far behind some very, very tough competitors with, you know, Facebook and Google and Microsoft and Chat. So this is his, you know, arch enemy, you know, Chat, you know, and OpenAI. And so for me, I look at this as a way for him to gracefully exit Tesla, and he's looking for a way. And with Robyn Denholm selling all of her stock as chairman of the board, I think she's on her way out. He becomes chairman, and they find a new CEO. And considering JB Straubel is the one talking to a lot of these investors, he's probably the one best suited to take this role, even though he wouldn't be an outside player. I think an inside player makes a lot more sense.
So apart from him, who could replace Elon? Some say that it should be a person just like Tim Cook did for Apple, because, you know, that kind of person would be able to perhaps take the company to the next level.
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't have a Tim Cook. And, you know, the relationship between Jobs and Cook and Woz was very unique. And that's why Apple is one of the most valuable companies of all time. So, you know, Elon had that a couple of years back, but he dismantled that team really to protect himself from this outcome. And so there really isn't a capable team to lead Tesla there, other than, as I said, I think JB Straubel is the most suited to. He's a co-founder. He's an investor. He runs a successful company. And if Tesla bought Redwood, it would make sense for Tesla. And then he could come in and be CEO. And that's the scenario I think would be best for everybody. But if the board is looking for an outside CEO, I think that presents lots of different challenges, because, you know, A, you got to work with Elon, and B, we want Elon involved, obviously, with the innovation of Tesla. It's just changing the image and the focus of the brand away from Elon and refocusing it on Tesla is really would be the goal. So maybe you need more a marketing type CEO. So this is a challenging position to be in, because, you know, Elon really created a situation where he couldn't be easily replaced.
Elon Musk did acknowledge that he had to pull back from that role at Doge. Take a listen to what he said recently.
Starting probably in next month, May, my time allocation to Doge will drop significantly. I'll have to continue doing it for, I think, the remainder of the president's term, just to make sure that the waste and fraud that we stop does not come roaring back.
Ross, clearly the damage has already been done. Can his pullback actually make a big difference? Can it recover from all the damage, bearing in mind the stock's trading at almost half the price before, and we saw first quarter results were like deeply disappointing?
Yeah, and I don't expect anything better in the second quarter either. And that's before we hit the recession, you know. So, you know, things aren't looking too good for Tesla. And this hope that the RoboCab is going to do anything for the financials is certainly not. So, you know, I think the damage is done with Tesla. So, you know, for Tesla to really fix its brand, it's going to be an incredibly challenging thing. And a lot of the damage is not related to Doge. It's more related to the daily tweets and insults that come from his Twitter that continually, you know, anger and enrage different groups of people that used to buy his cars. And so it's not so simple as just like, oh, I'm going to solve that. But if he's out, you know, meeting with the right-wing groups in Europe to try to overthrow European governments and failing at doing this, this also doesn't help sell Teslas. So we have to start, not to mention Tesla can become a pawn with China in this whole trade war as well. So, Tesla's in a very vulnerable position of their own making, and it's not so simple as Elon going away and it's just solved. And him going away also means there's something else that's now missing too. So the question is, how do they balance this where he still has the innovation and the good part of Elon still working at Tesla, but changing the image back to being focused on what Tesla does best, which is electric vehicles, autonomy, robotics, and AI. So, once again, I've thought hours and hours about how they could fix this, and I'm still dumbfounded to how deep of a problem that they've created, which I don't think has ever been done in business history before. And I think people will study this for a long time to come, because I've just never seen any business that's been run like this ever.
So to your point, what are the prospects for Tesla then? Because not too long ago, Elon Musk was Tesla. Tesla was Elon Musk. And, the right to the top of the stock price was based on Elon Musk himself and what people thought he brought to the company.
Yeah, and I would argue that that would be true if you're an investor like I am in XAI. It's pretty exciting time, because that's where he's going to put his focus, and he's going to take this $100 billion company and turn it into $1 trillion company, I guess is the goal. And so, what you don't see in the public markets is really happening in the private markets with Elon. And so my whole thing is, I think he's made Tesla successful, and in his mind, he's done his duty. His pay package got taken away from him, so he doesn't feel like he was compensated. And so I just don't think he feels, I've said in the past, like, he doesn't care about Tesla, and I don't mean it like he doesn't care about it because it's his baby. I'm sure he cares about it, but it's just not his focus. It's not his passion anymore. And I think you can see it just even in the conference calls. I mean, just, rattling off the same jargon and the same promises over and over again with no real improvement. And so, I'm really worried about Tesla's prospects over the next year. In one sense, they make these incredible products that have changed the world. And in another sense, they've turned off their entire customer base from buying these products. So, I don't know what to say, but there's a lot of other EVs that people are buying today. And you see it in California, where, at one point Tesla was 100% of the EV market in California, and today it's less than 50%. So, that's crazy to me, because it used to be like all you could buy was a Tesla, and now there's literally so many other EVs you could buy that people are buying more EVs combined than Teslas, and Tesla created the market. So I'm excited Tesla was successful. We have EVs everywhere, and it's great for the environment, but I'm sad because I feel like this great company has just been left out to sea without a captain, and the captain doesn't really want to come back full time, even if he comes back,
Ross, with a big question mark about the prospects for Tesla, what do you make of the valuation of the company right now? Yes, it's come down from its peak in such a huge way, but is it still too expensive? Is valuation still too high, given that you're unsure where the company is headed, and you're not even buying into the robo-taxi story?
Right. And so certainly if you look at financial metrics that most financial people use, Tesla doesn't make any sense at 157 times earnings with lower earnings coming, So comparing it to NVIDIA at 25 times earnings, or Microsoft with just incredible numbers that just came out after hours, just really strong financials, trading at 30 times earnings, so if Tesla traded at even a premium multiple to the Microsoft and NVIDIA is at 40 or 50 times earnings, the stock would decline substantially from where it is today. So that's the risk with Tesla, is that the valuation doesn't make any sense. This is just an investment on hope that robotics and AI are really going to drive this company over the next decade to this massive future. But it's a hope PE. It's not based off any fundamentals. And there's a few stocks in the market like that today. So I caution investors, obviously, we don't short stocks, and I would never short Tesla, that's for sure. And we're long Tesla, but we're sellers of the stock over time, and we have been for many years, and we continue to sell the stock. because we had so much of it, and that's where we're at with the company. So if I can get a premium for the stock, and you don't have a lot of faith in the future, and you're worried about tariffs and Trump, Tesla's a pretty easy stock to sell in the portfolio.
So you've been selling Tesla. What have you been buying instead?
No, I mean, I haven't been buying Tesla for a long time,
No, what other EV companies are you looking at? If there's an alternative, yeah.
Truthfully, this is the most conservative that I've been in a long time. I'm very concerned about these sets of policies causing a recession. And so we're underweight, for me, typically U.S. equities. Now, we're still buying things that aren't tariff related, like our top holding Netflix just had a blowout report. Netflix isn't affected by tariffs. We have stocks that we like a lot, like that have no relationship to tariffs at all, and especially foreign stocks, which we're adding to aggressively in Europe, as well as the bond market seems like a pretty obvious place to put money today, where I can still get very nice yields, and with most likely yields going lower over the next couple of years as we hit a recession, bonds seem like a short-term securities. So what we're advising our clients is to be very, very widely diversified right now and not overweight U.S. stocks, and still having U.S. positions, but just understanding that there's a lot more risk in the markets today than I would say in any time I've seen in a long time.
Right. Ross, very quickly, just a one-word answer. Where do you see Tesla headed by the end of the year?
Well, once again, if you go by
Stock
traditional
price.
valuations, it's going lower.